What's going on, everyone? Trooper Tommy here. Coming at you with a different kind of video than I normally make, but I've been receiving a lot of comments, and one I got very recently really inspired me to go ahead and make this video. It comes from Takahiro Morito. I hope I'm saying that right. And he says, "Hey Tommy, love your videos. Keep up the great work. Thank you." And he goes on to say, "This might seem a little strange, but my birthday is coming up, and all I really would like for my birthday is to see your glassware collection, Tommy. I've seen a couple pieces from it, and I think if I saw all of it, I would be very interested and think it would be a great experience." So we'll be doing that for Takahiro Morito. We're going to be going through my glassware collection. I keep various glasses of various designs because you never know what kind of function or role you're going to need your glass to perform in. And to get us started with, we're going to start with a basic one, the shot glass. Very small, cheap IKEA shot glass. It's okay that it's cheap, although it would be pretty cool to have a nice design on it, but you need to keep a lot of shot glasses around, and if they're very expensive per glass, you're not going to be able to build a big group of them. And oh yeah, I got my liquid here because obviously you need to pour something into the glasses as I show you my collection. This one can hold about a shot and a half. Very nice. Yeah, very basic. Does the job of a shot glass. We're going to be moving on now to a cocktail glass, also known as a martini glass. This is named after Joseph Cocktail, who was a Wall Street broker, and he took a fancy to glasses of this design because looking at the shape you can see it has a very large flared look, and he really liked this design because he would drink on the job during the J, and if he needed to get rid of his drink really fast, like if his boss was coming into his office unannounced, he would just go whoop. And that has a purpose for him, and nowadays it just looks classy. And you can see it has a long stem here. That's important because when you are using a cocktail glass, you're usually drinking a chilled cocktail, and if you're grabbing it up here, your hand's going to be transferring heat into your drink, making it not so chilled, which depending on the cocktail could be really devastating for the flavor profile. When it comes to drinking out of these glasses, it's not the greatest drinking experience. You can't really hold a lot of alcohol inside of one of these glasses. And just like going back to the Joseph Cocktail story, it's very easy to lose your cocktail because of the design. Also, when you put it up to your lips, because of how wide the rim is, it's easy to spill some while drinking. But that's not always a terrible thing, because it kind of forces you to sip it, be a little more classy. You see James Bond, he drinks out of a martini glass. Very classy cocktail glass. Not this one, this one's very basic. But something not very basic is our next glass. It's going to be a margarita glass. This is a variant of the champagne coupe glass. It's a little bit heavier than the martini glass. It's believed that the drink that goes in this iconic glass, the margarita, originates from a Mexican bartender from Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico. And that bar was called Tommy's Bar, believe it or not. This glass is a lot easier to drink out of than the martini glass. Same stem design, and you can see it's shaped differently. And this can deceive you. This can hold a lot more liquid than it looks like, which I kind of enjoy. And there you go. That's about as much as I poured in the martini glass, and you still got so much more glass to work with. It's about the same rim size too, so you can really see just how much more liquid it holds. The margarita that you would have in here is usually going to be weaker than whatever cocktail, because normally you put straight up cocktails or alcohols in a martini glass. So makes up for it in how much volume it has. It's pretty hard to see, but the rim on the margarita glass, it's a bit more flat, not as tapered, and that's really useful because with most margaritas you can put salt or sugar or brown sugar on the rim of the glass to really add to the drinking experience, and the being flat just makes that so much easier. To another cocktail glass, not used as much as the other two, but this is a hurricane glass. It's very deep, and most of the time when it's going to be used, it's going to be used with a straw with a frozen drink mix in it because of how deep it is and the contents. You don't really want to be drinking that straight from the rim. You want to use a straw with that. I haven't made many frozen drinks, but when I do, it has to be in one of these glasses. It just fits the profile. It is very nice to drink out of, but with how far the liquid has to travel, you might tip it back a little bit too far, and then you got a face full of water in your face. But as I did say, most of the time when you're using these, it's a frozen cocktail anyway, so you're just going to be sipping on it through a straw. The stem's a lot smaller on this one, which makes sense because you're not really going to be carrying bringing it around with you and whatnot. It's not important for a frozen cocktail if you're holding it, because, well, it's frozen, there's ice in there, it'll survive. So, now, I'm going to move on I'm going to bring out two at a time, a duo. I'm bringing out wine glasses. I'm going to go ahead and start with this one on the right. It's a pretty average wine glass. It's going to be for white wine because it's not very large and it really tapers here at the top. And you can tell that this is a white wine glass because red wine glasses are going to have a bigger opening at the top to allow for more air to get in there, to allow the wine to breathe. Well, white wines, you do want them to breathe a little bit. It's not as important because usually that lack of oxidation really adds to the flavor profile of the white wine. And this is one of my favorite glasses just because these cost a little bit more and they're heavier than many of the other glasses. And it's a good drinking experience because the rim's not so wide or crazy. And then it's just, yeah, the heft it has is just really nice, really good experience. Makes it fun to drink out of, fun to hold. You can just tell that it has some nice craftsmanship to it. Amazing. Here is also a wine glass. It has a little bit of a different design. Just about the same height, but obviously it's much smaller. It can hold probably the same amount of liquid. What I would put in here is probably red wines because it has a much larger mouth where more air can get in there. And it has less of a stem, so you're probably holding it from the glass, but that's not going to matter so much for red wines because generally they're not chilled before serving. I haven't been using these much for drinking out of because we don't drink a lot of red wine here. And this glass, it's pretty cool to use to make desserts. As a little dessert bowl. So instead of having wine in this, we'd have like a parfait. So that makes it a pretty versatile glassware. Really glad to have it in my collection because not every glass is going to get used every time. Maybe one type would be used for like a dinner, and then you have the rest of them just sitting in your little arsenal of glassware. But this one, it can come out even if it's not being used to transfer liquid from a container to your mouth. So, pretty utilitarian tool here. Pretty good drinking experience, but if you have a habit of just grabbing the stem, then you're not going to have as much fun. But as soon as you ignore that, you can really get into these little smaller variants of wine glasses. So we're going to move on to second to last, little brother to the last glass I'll be taking out. So a little bit of a hint. Go ahead and think about what the last one is going to be, and let me know in the comments if you were right, if you guessed the right glass. So this is just a normal small cup made out of glass, pretty heavy on the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. It's just solid at the bottom. It's really nice because it gives it some weight. If it didn't have that, if it was the same thickness as the walls, then you could just slide this thing around like it was a hockey puck. So normally these get a lot of use because they're pretty useful. They're gonna make good water glasses. Well, I'm out of liquid, okay. I had to be right back real quick. We ran out of liquid, so I got some water in this one, which is quite the coincidence because this is usually just used to be a little water glass for people. Make sure they're drinking water along with whatever else they're sipping on at that time. So, pretty great cup, pretty small profile, so it just sits well anywhere on the table. Yeah, every collection is going to have some of these shorter half glasses. So, last but not least, I'm wondering if you guessed it. If you're going to guess just a completely average glass, then you are on point. You're doing a good job. Made 100 on the quiz. So this here, it's just a normal glass. It's a pretty well-made one because, in my opinion, the glass you should most invest into is the one you're going to be using the most. And this is a very important utility tool in your glassware collection because realistically, you can pour anything in here. Maybe maybe it's not like the preferred vessel of certain liquids and beverages, but it gets the job done and it does it well. This one that I got right here, very heavy, very solid. Can hold a lot of liquid, very large. Can hold the most liquid out of the collection that I have here. And it has a pretty unique design for a glass. You can see it has a smaller base and it has that unique texture on it, which I absolutely adore because it makes it just a lot easier to hold. If I'm trying to hold it from if the whole thing was like this thick in diameter, then it'd be a little bit harder to hold, and then it's very smooth. So when you're putting this much liquid into a container, it gets a little bit heavy. So it's just nice to have that guarantee. Very solid. You're not going to be dropping this when you're speed walking across the party. And yeah, definitely my favorite glass. All right, so that completes my glassware showcase. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I do, because I really like this. I really like doing this. Some of these, they don't get to leave the armory very often, because they have very niche uses. It's like the dessert glass. If it's not having dessert in it, then it's it's just sitting there in the dark. So we got to come out and see some daylight. Very nice. And if this video does well, I'll do a plateware showcase. I got some interesting pieces there, and if you're interested in that type of content, just leave a like, comment down below, and happy birthday, Takahiro Morito. Have a great birthday. Hope you enjoyed this video, and good night, guys. Have a good one.